Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Under the Hill and our little holiday that we're having here. So today we want to buy a baler. Now we want to go down through here and we want to go to baling technology. That would be the one that we're after. No, I don't want that one. And we want to go up through here like this. This is all of the straw, add-on straw harvest. There's, I think I got a link in the description. I'm not actually sure. I will try to remember to put a link in the description for that one. That's the add-on that you got to buy from offsite. It's the one that was put together. I think it was BSM Modding and another company that put it together. It's a licensed DLC, like a licensed DLC type thing. But anyway, that's not what we're after today. No, we want the Welger baler. This is the bad boy that we're after. So we want to buy that one for 14,000, and we come back out of there like that. We will be buying a trailer to go with it, but we're not going to get that one now. I don't think it's got a rear hitch on it. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have any kind of rear hitch on it, which means that we can't, get the trailer and stick it on the back of it for now. We're going to have to come back later on and get the trailer for it another time. So we'll back this one in on here and hitch that one up like that. And that one goes on the 3-point linkage out there like that. Some farmers will put them out there, some farmers will put it onto the hitch in the middle. It sort of depends really on the farmer and how much maneuverability you want. It is a lot easier to put it here like this, but not all farmers have actually got one of those. I know several farmers that don't have one of those bars, and one of those I've worked on a few farms that the farmer doesn't have one of those bars, and then I've worked on plenty of other farms where they do, and they use quite a few machines they put further out. It just allows you to turn a little bit sharper and a little bit more, and you'll often find as well that if you're using something like that so you can turn sharper, the end of the PTO will have a double joint on it rather than just being a single joint there and a single joint there. It will actually have a double joint on that side to allow you to turn sharper whilst it's still running without damaging the PTO. And some of them will have a single joint and a double, and some will be a double on both ends, so that you really start to turn quite sharp then. It really does depend on the individual machine, the farmer, and so on. I prefer to have a double joint on each end on the PTO if I'm going to be using one where I'd need a double joint, just because it puts a little bit less stress. Because obviously, when you're using a PTO shaft, if the tighter you turn, the more stress it puts on the PTO. It's designed to allow you to turn. The power takeoff is what it's called. Power takeoff shaft, or PTO shaft, where it takes the power from the tractor and puts it onto the machine you're using. It needs to be spinning all the time. So even when you're turning the corner, it's still spinning. So inside, underneath the plastic cover, and this is obviously quite a health and safety conscious farm, because even though he's using quite old machinery, he's still got the plastic covers on the PTOs. The same cannot be said for all the farms I've ever worked on. A lot of them, the PTO is just, doesn't have a guard on it. Probably not a good idea to go and stick your hand anywhere near moving machinery anyway, but yeah, health and safety and so on. It's a good idea to have a cover on PTO. You don't want to be getting wrapped up in the thing. It would be extremely dangerous. But yeah, having a double joint on the PTO means that you're able to run like that, and you're still, it's not going to really damage the machine or damage the PTO, because the tighter you turn, the more stress it's putting on all the joints and everything as you're going around. So we need to unfold this baler. Now, it's been a while. I don't think I've actually used in a series, apart from just recently in the time-lapse, the baler since it was released on ModHub, and I just used it from where I found it on a website and downloaded it. And they've done some improvements, including being able to unfold it, and I absolutely love that we can now unfold the baler. It makes such a huge difference being able to actually unfold it and it move out to the side of the tractor, because the previous one that I was using, it was pretty much like trailing behind the tractor, and I didn't like that at all. Whereas this one, it's out the side of the tractor where it's supposed to be, and there we have our Welger baler, Lely Welger, working quite well. This one has got the two forks on the top. I know that the John Deere small baler had an auger in the top. It had one fork and it had an auger. I'm going to jump off here, and we're going to talk about balers just for a second. You can see where those two forks are moving, and they move into there. The ram for this baler is in here. It's a great big chunk of metal that's moving backwards and forward. That's called a ram, and that's pounding back into the bales back there. And this, what it's doing is you're picking up straw, and it's going into the infeed in here. This is always called the infeed. It doesn't matter where it is on the machine. And so it goes up in the infeed on the pickup reel there. The pickup reel there. It's just a load of little tines continuously turning around, and they just gently pick up the material and stuff it into the bag. This one here has got these two forks. So that one gathers up the material and it moves it over to there. And this one here takes all of that material and it puts it into the chamber in here, right underneath where I am now. And there is a ram here. It's a big chunk of metal, and that one is moving backwards and forwards. And that one is the full size of the chamber. And so the ram, the end of the ram is that size there, that square. And that is jumping backwards and forwards. Well, I said jumping. It's moving backwards and forwards, and it pushes right up. And when you're actually driving along, you will see the ram, which is crouch. Right, you'll see the ram in there, and it will go right up past the very end. And on the end, just there, behind where that fork is, there's a knife. It's just the edge of the metal, and it's usually angled, so you never need to sharpen it or anything like that. And the ram pushes up past there, and that cuts all the material. So the material gets to that point, most of it stuffs in there, and then it cuts the edge neat and tidy, so the edge of the bale has got this knifed edge on it. So it's a cut edge on there, and then the ram goes forward, and as the ram goes forward, this fork here pushes the material back into the chamber again. So they're timed beautifully. If the timing goes out, then that fork will stay in there, and then the ram will go back, crunch, and bust the fork. I've seen it happen, okay? It does sometimes happen. Something will go wrong in there. Usually it doesn't. If you get a shear pin break on this flywheel here, usually what happens is the ram, it's had too much material in there and it just kind of stops dead up here, but then the rest of the machine will stop dead as well, so it's all linked together. But I have seen before something break and that fork gets stuck inside there. So then it comes out and you've got a knotter on here. Now usually on small bales, as they come out, this side here is relatively smooth, and this side here has got the cut edge of the grass on it. So when you're picking up bales, if you're picking up bales and you're wearing a pair of shorts, you almost always go along and you try to pick the bale up from this side. So when you put your knee against the side of the bale to help throw it, wherever you've got to throw it, you'll use your knees a lot when you're doing this. You're not pushing your knee up against the scratchy surface on here, which just one or two bales is fine. But when you spend all day and you pick up thousands and thousands of bales and you do it, your legs will become rubbed raw if you're repeatedly picking the bale up and putting your knee against the cut edge on this side. Trust me, I speak from experience. You always pick up on this side. So you've got that bit there. But what some balers have, instead of having these two forks, is they'll have, some of them have one fork up there, and then they have an auger on this side. So they do away with that fork, and they have this auger that's just kind of feeding it through at a more steady pace. And some balers have done away with the fork altogether, and it just feeds in through from the side. And then the very new small balers, they're not side mounted anymore. This bit is on top, and then you have the pickup in underneath, and it just looks very bizarre, and I don't like them. It's different. It's changed, and I don't like it. So there you go. There is your lesson on small balers. I will be testing you in next week's episode. There will be a small test at the beginning of the episode, and you can answer all questions about balers and so on. But I'll probably forget, so don't worry about it. So yes, small balers, and then they put the small bales out the back. Now, usually, most farmers will use a sledge of some kind. Some of them will use a flat 8 sled, some of them will use just a bale accumulator, where it just piles them all up in a messy heap, and then they're like in one spot. So you pull up alongside with the tractor and trailer, and you don't have to sort of keep wandering around the field collecting one bale at a time. Because if you've got to wander around and collect all of these bales one at a time, it takes longer to pick them all up. So that's why you use a bale sled. I know that some do actually leave them out on the ground, and there have been a number of different inventions designed specifically for picking up the bales once they've been left on the field, and most of these do actually require the bales to be left in just in rows out across the field. But several of them now You also have the flat 8 sleds and things like that, and they're designed, you have a sled that goes behind a bale, and it gathers all the bales up into a packet of 8, and then your machine comes along, your loader or whatever, and it picks up the 8 bales all at once and stuffs them away. And I've not seen it very much in the UK. I think I've seen a flat 10 working once. Other than that, I've not really seen it. In the US, I know that there is some much bigger sleds that have been used and are still used in some places, where they go up to even a flat 20 bales all laid flat. Some of them actually work with a trailer, and so it will put 20 bales all laid flat, and then the trailer will go along. It's towed right alongside this thing, and it just kind of pops them all onto the trailer, all neat and tidy all at once, and loads the entire trailer fully automatically. Absolutely wonderful. I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, well, why couldn't we have had something like that when we were doing all the small bales, or when I was younger and I was doing all these small bales? Something like that would have been it would have just been a godsend. It would have been wonderful. And then you go and look at you sort of think, well, most of these aren't really made anymore, and so you start looking for prices for second-hand machines, for the various different ones that will pick up bales. There's all kinds of ones that will pick up bales. Some of them like that do it automated onto a trailer. Some of them go along and they pick them up and they build them into a stack after the fact, and you're going along and just picking up the bales like this as you drive along, and it picks them up and it does a really good job. You look at the price of second-hand ones. I mean, these machines, they haven't been made for like 20 years and they're still half the price of my own house, and it's ridiculous. And you look at them and you think, well, that would probably be why we never had one when we were doing it. That would probably explain the lack of automation on small bales. And why is there such a serious lack, and why is it so expensive? Mainly because as the automation increased, as we were able to get automation for picking up our small bales, and thus reducing one of the most back-breaking tasks in agriculture, automation in general was increasing, and so the big bales just became more popular. And most farmers would rather have big bales and deal with it with their tractors, rather than having small bales and having to lug them around by hand all winter, which is quite understandable. I can very well understand that. So that seems to be the main reason that you don't really get these things anymore, is because farmers don't want small bales anymore. They want big bales, because then they can do all handling work with their tractors rather than having to do it by hand. So you do still get a use for small bales. Small holders and people with horses and stuff like that generally want bales, but not big scale farming. Small bales on big scale farming is these days generally a thing of the past. That is something that no longer happens. And I was going to say, I'm sad about this, but at the same time, having spent many hours picking up and stacking and moving by hand many thousands upon thousands of bales, and I'm talking, when I say thousands, I mean tens of thousands of bales by hand, I'm not altogether sure that I'm that sorry about it, to be honest. If I was to, I said in yesterday's episode, if I was to ever get a small holding, I would almost definitely do some sort of small bale. I probably shouldn't have driven in there. I probably should have taken the bale around the other way, but still. I probably would get some sort of small bale device in order to bale up a little bit of hay. But I'm only doing that on small scale. It's only going to be like a few hundred bales at most. I'm not talking about thousands of bales. You do a big hay harvest, and you do it all in small bales, and you are talking about thousands and thousands of bales across the entire hay harvest, which is an awful lot of work. And quite frankly, it's a lot of work that you don't really want to do unless you've got to. It's absolutely exhausting. And yes, you can romanticize it all you like, but the fact of the matter is, it is back-breaking labor, and it is not pleasant to do. It's hot, it's dusty, and it's just really, really exhausting. And I don't know very many people that are going to say, oh, I tell you what, rather than using round bales or big square bales this year, I'm going to do small square bales just because I enjoy a little bit of exercise. I don't know very many people that are going to do that. And yes, there are a few people that will. No doubt about that whatsoever. But most people, no, we go big bales, and then we don't have to throw bales around at all. And yeah, it's just so much easier. It really is. It's just like ridiculously easy to sit in a tractor and do it, especially if you've done a lot of small bales. You really do appreciate big bales all the more. You really do. At the same time, a small holding, if I'm just going to do a few, and I know a lot of farmers like this who, when like farming full time, wouldn't want to look at small bales at all. No way, not interested whatsoever. It's so much hard work, especially the farmers that have actually done it for any length of time. And there's always farmers. There are more and more farmers these days who haven't actually done very much in the way of small bales. But the ones that have done, there was this sort of feeling that went along with it. After you just spent 2 weeks lugging these bales around and you come to the end of it, the feeling of accomplishment was phenomenal, right? The feeling was indescribable. You have just achieved something that when you look at it at first hand, you sort of think, well, you know, it's the difficulty involved. You're talking about a nigh on impossible task, and then you actually go and pull it off, and there is an immense feeling of satisfaction. It is also a sociable task. Very few farmers will make small bales on their own, right? And it's always been the case. There's very few farmers that will do small bales on their own. It's such a time-consuming job. If you're on your own, if you're a single solitary farmer, you will almost invariably have an arrangement with some neighbours where they help you with yours, you help them with theirs. And so it's a sociable task. And it's the social aspect of it that people seem to value. Well, most people that I know that have anything to do with it, that they value more than anything else. You've got so many different people doing so many different tasks when it comes to small bale hay. It's just, there is a huge amount of work involved, but you're all in it together. There's this sort of feeling that, you know, you're not on your own. You've got one person who's on the tractor driving the baler, but it's not even an easy task for him, and usually the baling is all done and then everybody pitches in together and helps gather up the bales. And you put, usually, the farmer who is the oldest person would often be the one driving the tractor. So a number of times I've done small bale hay where the person who's on the tractor and who's trying to help, he does like come and help do some of the bales every now and then. But, you know, the bloke's like 85 years old, and I think 85 years, having spent the majority of his life working hard as a farmer, is probably earned the right to be the one sitting on the tractor. You know, nobody's really going to begrudge him sitting on the tractor while the rest of you are sweating away, throwing bales around. It's just not going to happen. But that's not always the case. You know, sometimes it's a younger person on there. Usually if that's the case, though, you take it in turns. You know, you do an hour on the tractor, and then you do an hour of throwing bales around. I know people that will flat out refuse to go on the tractor, generally because it's small, older tractors, and you're sitting in a small greenhouse. You've got an engine right in front of you that's baking hot, and then you've got this greenhouse thing going on as well, and it is just really, really unpleasant, horrible, and not good, because air conditioning, what's that? Open the window, there's your air conditioning. That's literally it, you open the window. And so it's, quite frankly, small bale hay is a very unpleasant task, and I've seen so many examples of people romanticizing small bale hay, and you think to yourself, yep, I can understand where you're coming from. There is this romantic aspect to small bale hay, but very often the people who are romanticizing it the most are the ones that haven't really ever done it, because quite frankly, it's just not a pleasant task, and this is why nobody wants to do it anymore. And this is why, when I think back to it, I think, yeah, it would be really nice to be able to do some small bale hay. It's fun to do small bale hay when you've got 2 acres of land to do it on. When you've got 50 acres of land that you need to turn into hay, that's when it becomes a back-breaking and arduous task, and after the first 1,000 bales, you sort of think, why on earth am I doing this? I'm going up the road to see if I can borrow a round baler and do this a little bit more sensibly, right? This is just, yeah, that's the way of things. So I'm curious, is there anybody here that genuinely loves the entire experience of making small bale hay? Or, if you're really honest with yourself, do you say, you know, I enjoyed doing the small bale hay, but are you sort of, you know, if you're genuinely honest with yourself, do you think that perhaps maybe you are romanticizing it a bit for yourself, and if you really think long and hard about it, it was, you know, probably about as unpleasant as I'm describing it to be? It was, you know, it was back-breaking, it was, you're absolutely exhausting, and yes, you had this wonderful social thing going on, which was amazing, but, you know, it would be nicer if you could find a different task to be sociable about and not have to do the small baling again. Please, for any god, any higher deity, and anything out there, please, for the love of anything that is holy, please don't make me do hay again. Is this really what you're thinking, or are you genuinely a person who misses the days of small bale hay and you would really love to go back and do some more on a bigger scale? You know, I don't mean just go and help for an afternoon, throw a few hundred bales around. I mean on a big scale where you go around and you throw thousands of bales around for several weeks. That's, I feel, is kind of the difference. Doing it for an afternoon is altogether different to doing it for several weeks. And by the second week, it's really starting to wear thin. It really is. That's the bit where you're sort of thinking, oh, what on earth was I thinking? But anyway, that is small bale hay, and that is what it used to be like. And so, yeah, does anybody do small bale hay now? And anybody watching, do any of you do small bale hay still on like a big scale? And if you do, how much of it is automated? Do you still have to go around and pick it all up? Are you one of those that is lucky enough to have a machine that is able to automate the process a little bit? How does your small bale hay work? How do you do things? So I'm looking around, I'm trying to see... Oh, our sheds are over there, right. I've gone a little bit too far. We're going to put this baler over near where the combine is stored. So I need to back this one out here. Let's try not to smash into that fence there if we can help it. Bring that one out round there, we go. Beautifully done, beautifully done. And we'll bring this one up through here, and there is where the combine is stored over this way. And I'm not in the UK, I'm in Slovenia. We want to be on this side of the road, over here. Well, I thought, oh, there's the combine. The combine's over there. We could actually put the baler in this shed right here. We go up in here, and can we drive through without getting stuck? Can I do this? Can I get all the way through? I can indeed get all the way through. So I'm going to leave that baler right there. That is the perfect spot for that baler. And then I'm going to come down here. Careful. There we go. Oh, hang on. No, I don't want to go that way. We need to go and gather up our bales now. That is the next task. And to do this, I am going to be using a bale trailer. We're going to use an auto-load trailer just to make it a little bit easier. Unfortunately, the auto-load trailer that I've got has been designed for a slightly smaller bale than the Welger bale puts out. And if you've seen this week's time-lapse, you will see that the small bales on this trailer, they didn't quite fit. So then when I unloaded them onto the trailer, they just kind of, there was a small explosion as the bales kind of found where they wanted to be. Let's just take a look in the shop a minute. We go back into baling technology, and it's these three trailers here. I really like these, but they're just not suited for small bales. Now, I'm using this one quite a bit, but today I want to use this one because this is the only type of trailer I ever really use. I never really used a trailer like this. So I'm going to use this one here, which is just a semi-mounted like this. Select, and we can have the ladders, or we can have... There, we have lathes on the front and back, which I'm going to have lathes on the front and back as well. So we'll buy that trailer. We'll be using that. There we go. And then we can stack... Well, in theory, you can stack the bales up against it. The only thing that I don't like about this map is its habit of putting machinery like that, which is a little bit of a nuisance. So all we need to do is we'll just nudge that one round. We'll assume that it was put round the other way, and then we don't need to say anything more about it. So we'll just come over to there, and I'm going to go out that back entrance there, and we'll take this trailer with us. There we go. Now, the thing I like about these trailers is that you do have to think a little bit more about how you're going to turn with them, with these long trailers like this. The ones with the turntable on them, you can generally turn quite sharp with the tractor, and you don't sort of think about where the back of the trailer is going. So I think it presents more of a challenge using one of these, and I don't know why. I think they are cheaper. I think that's probably why most of the farmers that I've ever worked for have only ever had trailers like this. They are a lot easier to reverse as well. Trying to reverse one with a turntable on it is extremely difficult. So that may also play a major factor into it, because reversing a four-wheel trailer or a turntable trailer is probably one of the most difficult reversing tasks there is, I would say. And like, not exaggerating, I would say that's probably one of the most difficult things to reverse on any farm is a trailer with a turntable on it. So it's just extremely difficult thing to do. I really struggle with it, and probably in part because I've never really done it in real life. I know some people who've got a lot of these trailers, and they can back them up really, really fast, really easy. They make the entire task look easy. Whereas me, I'm backwards and forwards all the time, and you probably noticed that I do shunt an awful lot with them when I use those trailers in this game as well. So today we're using one of these. I'll bring this one on up here, and I'll bring it in over here. Now, this is the thing. It's all well and good to go into the field and get it loaded up. You've got to plan how you're going to get out of the field, because when the trailer is loaded up, you don't want to be driving across a steep slope. That makes life very, very difficult for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change it over from round bales. They're HD bales, that's the ones that we want, and then we just put it to work position like that. And I'm going to let it auto load as we jump down here. Actually, I'm going to stop right there a minute, just at the front of the hill, and we're going to pick these bales up there. And I'm going to chuck them over there like that. It's a lot easier if we just do it like this. There we go. Throw them onto the trailer. So we're quite enthusiastic here. This always happens. When you first start, you tend to walk a little bit further for bales sometimes. And you throw them a lot further. And everybody's enthusiastic. By the end of the first day, you're starting to slow down. By the end of the first week, you're really slowing down. You no more are you throwing things enthusiastically up into the air. No, you're passing them up. It's a lot more passing politely rather than just lobbing them around the countryside. So we're going to go over here. We'll gather a few more of these by hand. Ooh. We're grounding out there. Not well, we haven't quite. Hopefully we won't ground out there before we finish doing this. One thing you have to note with these bale trailers, if I'm holding the bale and then I walk forward like I did then, it takes it from me. I don't get the thing. I've got to click first. You see the hand just appear as basically it resetting. So you do have to be aware that that will happen if you're using one of these and you're doing small bales. So bring that down there like that. See, I can drop that down there. And if it takes it away from me, that's when it does it. So then I've got to see, I'm not getting the handprint there, but if I just click my mouse button, then it will come back. Okay, so that's all you need to do. If you're having any issues with it, that's all you need to do. But the easiest way is just stand a little bit further back and throw the bales like that, and then you can pick them up. Well, actually, that's not the easiest way. The easiest way is how we're going to do it in a minute for the rest of the bales in this field. We'll bring that steady. This is what happens when you run. If you run with a bale, it does tend to chuck it onto the floor. So I'm going to start chucking them in a little bit. We're not going to go any closer to this end. I'm just going to throw them up there like this. Enthusiastically. There we go. That one. Throw that one. That one actually went right up onto the bale trailer. And we get this one here. So we take all the ones from this end. Like this. Does anybody in the game use small bales and pick them all up by hand? If I do small bales, most of the time I just run around with an auto-load trailer. The last thing I want to be doing is picking them up by hand. As you can imagine, as well as you know now, I've done quite a bit of picking up small bales by hand, and I don't really want to be going and doing a whole load of it now. Fun as it was at times, I used to like helping with the hay for the tractor driving that I got to do. I was younger, and I hadn't done much tractor driving at that point, so I would get to spend days at a time turning hay, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. It was like a dream come true. And it was absolutely awesome, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. It wasn't for the handling of the small bales. That was not the aspect of it that I liked. That was the aspect of it that I put up with so that I was able to drive tractors. Now, did the other bale that I lobbed down here end up jumping? I think the other one went onto the trailer already. There was one that I chucked and I wasn't quite sure where it went. So we'll grab that one there. Oop. Where did that one go? I think I kind of flicked it up into the air. I've seen a shadow. I don't know if the bale kind of went... It may have gone onto the tray. If not, it's gone. It's long gone. Let's chuck that one onto there. Sometimes they do strange things, but that's just the objects that you pick up in the game anyway. They tend to do the occasional odd, peculiar thing. And we get these two here. We've got 2 more bales that I want to chuck onto this trailer. And then the rest of them, we're going to be doing the other way that I like doing this job. So we go into the tractor like this. And this is what I wish that we could have had when I was younger, is a trailer that picked them up. Just like this. It would have been wonderful. It would have been absolutely amazing. Now, we don't have very many bales on this trailer, but we're still going to struggle to get up this hill, because the back of the trailer is going to ground out a little bit. Oh, he did alright. He didn't do too bad there. And that is like the main thing that you do when you're going into a field. You do have to plan quite carefully your route getting out of the field when the trailer is loaded. I know I said that already. It can be quite difficult. You get into the field. That's the easy bit. And a couple of fields that I have worked, we've had to just load trailers half full because it's quite uneven getting out of the field. There is no way to get out of the field with a trailer, well, especially any kind of big trailer, with the trailer loaded up. Not unless you like chopping out new gateways and stuff. And so we'd end up just like doing half loads. Do a few half loads, and then if you want bigger trailers to take it any distance, you sort of just move them into the next field and then offload from one trailer onto the next one before you set off on a longer journey. And I'm going to bring this one down here, and we'll stop right there a minute, and then go over this way and just grab these last few over here. There we go. Bring that one over there. So we haven't got a huge number of bales here. We've got... We'll have a look in a minute. I'll tell you exactly how many bales we've done. If I go here, like this, and then we go through... Oh, that's right into there, isn't it? Created bales, 66. Now, I've recorded yesterday's episode at the same time as recording this one. So, it's actually 65 small bales and 1 round bale is what we've created. Is there any more down there? None have slipped down the hills. We got... Oh, no, it's 3 bales left. We'll go and get that one in a minute. Back up round there. And then start going forward again. We can get that one there, and then we've got that one and that one there, and there is the last of the bales. Now, I want to show you what happens when you unload these bales with this trailer. And these bales, they're too small. If I just jump out a minute and we have a look, you can see they're overlapping each other. One is going into the other by... that much. You can see the end of the bale there and the end of the bale up there. So they've pushed it into each other by that much. And so what happens is, what I like to do with the trailers anyway, is I like to load my bales up. Turn off the auto load, and then I like to unload onto the trailer like that. But what it's doing is it's shoving all the bales out, and it's doing that to them, which is not great because of how much... You can see how much they're overlapping by this bit down here, and look at that. That is that's terrible. And that's what happened when I was recording the time lapse, and I didn't actually realise to start with that they were doing this. So then I went and unloaded them and had this big load of bales. I was thinking, we're putting a lot of bales on this trailer. Turns out there's reason for that, and they all sort of went a bit pear-shaped. So let's put these straps on all the way down there, and there we go. And another strap on there, and then one through there, and there. I'm curious. I've got straps all the way through. You put the straps on and it locks all the bales in place anyway. Even though some of those bales haven't been touched, it's still locking them in place. And now we've got the weight of the hay on there, and that's the bit that I wanted. Right, now to get out of here, we need to turn round. And we're going to assume now, we're going to behave like we've got a trailer that's like loaded up with hay. So we don't want to be going out down that bit. Not really if it's a tall trailer and we've only got a single axle trailer. If you had a double axle trailer, you can actually go over more uneven ground. It does make it a lot more even. But this bit getting out round there, I'd be reluctant to try, because the way that it dips sideways there is not very good. And you've got to imagine these trailers are very prone to tipping over. It's very, very easy to tip over a trailer like this. So you do need to go slow. So I'll bring this one up here, and my solution to this would be to bring it to here and then back it round there a little bit, like that. Just up a little bit there. And then we'll come out round this way. So we've turned around, and I'm trying to do this on the most even ground possible. And then I'm going to bring it over to here and just slowly go through. You don't want to go too fast. You can go at reasonable speed. What you don't want is anything that is going to make it lurch over from one side to the other, because that's the bit that will generally end up in your trailer tipping over. You're still going to move from side to side. In my personal experience, I tend to avoid looking in the mirror when I'm doing pulling a trailer load of bales around, because if you look in, especially the in-cab mirror where you're looking directly behind you, you can see the bales behind you swaying from one side to the other. And just looking in the mirror, you become convinced that these things are going to tip over. Any second, they're going to tip over and disaster will strike. I've only ever tipped over one trailer. I have tipped over one trailer, and that is because of the angle. I had to go out of the field, and there was a plough trench on the edge of the field, and we were told, no, it's okay, you can get past that without tipping the trailer over. And then I tipped the trailer over, and then the farm manager decided, oh, well, actually, maybe you can't. And, yeah, he got a bit stroppy with me until other people pointed out that theirs nearly gone over as well, and it was only through pure dumb luck that it hadn't. So, it was an interesting experience. Now, I don't think we're going to do silage into there. We might actually. Tell you what, we won't put bales in there, just in case we do decide to do silage in there. I'm not going to put bales in that shed. So I need to put these bales somewhere. And this is going to be the next question, is how do I do this? We'll have to back this one in here, I think. Back it up. I started turning too late there. And so let's go forward a little bit more. Now, anybody that thinks that this yard is not realistic, come to Europe. There are many, many farms here in Europe, and often, well, I'm saying that there's plenty of people here in plenty of European viewers who think that these small farms are a bit unrealistic. They're really not. Have a look at the really small farms. And these are quite realistic. I know so many farms where just backing around any corner, getting machinery in and out of the yard is a major undertaking in itself. It's like nothing short of a minor miracle if you're able to do just a small job like that. So this whole place is like laid out really, really well, and it does feel very much like an actual working farm. Now, can I get under here? Is this going to be too small for me to get through, or can I do it? I think I can do it, just. It's a little bit tight. It was a little bit tight there, but we've done it. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take these straps off like this, and then rather than messing around with chucking these bales by hand, I'm going to load them all up like this, and then I'm going to stop loading, and then I'm going to do that, and that, so the bales go behind me, and then I'm going to unload them there, and they will pop out again, so they go into an odd shape. And in order to feed these bales, we are going to have to take them back across the road, which is a little bit of a nuisance, but there's something that we can live with. We can always come over and grab a few bales into our mixed feeder, or take a few for the sheep when we want to feed the sheep. We'll worry about that next time. But we kind of run out of time for today's episode. Next week, we are going to start off by buying some animals. We're going to buy 20 cows and probably 40 sheep. I don't know if we're going to worry about doing pigs at all on this map. We might just leave the pigs. But I would like to do cows and sheep at least. Steady, steady. As long as nobody behind me, I can do this. I'm going to put this bale trailer over in the shed over here. So we'll do 20 cows and we'll do 40 sheep, and we'll get some food in for those. That's going to be our first... Well, our next task is getting the sheep and the cows fed. We will feed the sheep with some of the hay bales that we've got, so we'll load a few bales into the back of the pickup, and we'll use that to take it out, and we'll feed the sheep. Because even though we've got like the sheep feed point here in the yard, putting bales in the back of the pickup and taking them out to the field for the sheep is something that I have done many, many times. Either that or in a trailer on the back of the quad bike. Is something that I have done many, many times. So it's a task that I would like to do. So we will put bales in the pickup and we'll take them to feed the sheep. And then we will take the mixed feeder, if we're doing that with the cows, and we will get a bit of hay from over there, and we'll bring that. The only thing we haven't got is silage bales. We had a bale of grass that we decided not to turn into silage. So we may have to do a quick run around and maybe do a little bit of silage first. We might get the cows, and we'll put some hay, and we've got some fresh grass in for them already, and we'll put some water in. And then we might cut another field of grass, or cut some, and make a little bit of silage. And we could turn it into silage down in this clamp, down here. So we can see what this one's like. We'll come in with a loader wagon, I think, and back it in there, and we'll do that task in there as well. So that's to come next week. So if you've enjoyed the episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.